All right. Hey, John Wechsler, thanks for being in studio.
Thanks for having me. I have a question about Paul. The way he said that 200-pound number, I was just, I don't really have a problem with that.
I know, right? I was like, well, what can I get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, look, until you've said you weigh 1/8 of a ton, you're nothing. So 250 is I think the number to
But can you think about the guy now? Now he's literally every pound he's worth $7,000, right?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, therein lies a huge amount of a long series of jokes right there, especially if he's married. No, never mind. All right, so tell us, in the spirit of FailFest, what was the last thing that you failed at? No matter how big or small. You got to give us the latest fail.
Latest fail was 30 minutes ago. I failed to walk by a plate of Chick-fil-A nuggets at Launch Fishers without eating one. And
And you weren't in that bet with that guy.
Exactly. It wouldn't have mattered. I still would have probably stopped and picked it up. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad. Well, I don't know how to answer that. Well, we have that out of the way. Tell us a little bit about FailFest, what it is, and how it's grown over time.
Yeah, so we're in our 4th year, FailFest.
Cool.
Website is failfest.us, and it really started as just kind of a conversation at Launch Fishers. We were talking about we were going to actually do a fall festival, and I just kind of blurted out, we don't need a fall fest, we need a FailFest, and it kind of. We really started riffing on that idea and started thinking about all the things that we've ever done that have been successful and how failure really paves the way. And so we thought, if we could get people that are obviously successful to talk about things that didn't go their way one time and what they learned from it, we might have something to talk about.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, you learn so many lessons from failure as opposed to a string of successes.
Well, exactly. If you think about a world where we only did the things where we knew we wouldn't fail, we'd be in a pretty boring place. You look at a product like WD-40. I talk about that all the time. Norm Larson created that. He was a chemist, and it took him 40 times, right? Hence WD, water displacement, 40th attempt. And the poor guy sold it for $20,000 at the end of the game, and no residuals and no royalties. So be persistent. You got to be smart, but also have some good business advisors. I think is an important part of it.
And sharp companies literally embrace that, especially if you're in a larger company, if they can actually embrace failure as part of their ecosystem, that they know people are going to fail, things are going to fail, and then be able to have that as a reinforcement and a learning opportunity. 3M obviously is one of the best examples of that. The Post-it note guy, he literally was trying to create an incredibly sticky adhesive, and he ended up bringing something that was so light that they didn't know what to do with it, but he actually submitted it into the culture of 3M, and they found a way to utilize that to a great degree. It's one of the most known brands.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can capture in your corporate culture or your startup culture how to embrace failure, you're well on your way, right? I mean, the terms of fail forward, fail fast. I mean, it gets kind of worn out. But the really important thing is that as business owners, as executives, as managers, as peers, as husbands and wives and brothers and sisters for that matter, right? You need to understand that we're not going to get it right every time. Right. And in the times that you do fail, you oftentimes remember the lesson a whole lot more than you would if you were just kind of going through your day and ultimately grow and learn. So that's what it's all about.
I was just reflecting on a few skin knees in my past.
You guys both had this look in your eyes like, oh my gosh, he's talking about that.
No, absolutely. So you have an event coming up. That's FailFest. The 4th version of it is coming up September 21st at Union 525, right?
Yeah, we're excited to have a home for Launch Indy in downtown Indianapolis, right there in the Union 525. What John Hurley has done in pulling that together is nothing short of a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
I've done that kind of stuff before. I know how hard it is, and if you haven't had him on yet, you really need to get him in the house here. But FailFest will be in the gymnasium. They call it the Gem.
Yep.
And it looks like it's straight out of Hoosiers. I mean,
know,
you've been in there. Isn't it great? So we're going to have a series of speakers. We actually have a call out right now for people that think they have something that they want to share with others. So I would encourage anyone that has a story, a success that was built on a prior failure. We'd love to hear from them at failfest.us.
I think today's culture is a lot more accepting of failure because there was a stigma. I mean, everybody. we should not be ever expressing what you've experienced and what type of failures you have, because it could literally give you a black eye in the perspective of VC capitals and what have you. But there's a whole new embrace. If you haven't failed, right? That VC doesn't want to be the one that's actually funding that soon-to-be failure. So it's actually very good to be able to have a couple failures behind you, because it shows that you've learned in the progress, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think investors, business partners, future ventures, right, that you may be involved in, they see those lessons learned as equity that they can, quite frankly, trade on, right? I mean, you're improving your chances of success if you've had a couple of those where you've skinned your knees. And you're right. A lot of venture capitalists won't look at someone if they don't have a couple of experiences under their belt. And it's pretty rare to see anyone that bats 1,000, right? You're most of the time you're going to skin your knee in some form or fashion, right? I've called some of my ventures, I've called getting hit by the pitch, right? It stings a little bit. You end up getting on base and maybe advance the game. But at the end of the day, there's an awful lot of failure in success.
Oh, very good.
So this will be, is it the third?
Number 4.
Number
actually,
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've also done one in Terre Haute. We're going to be doing one later this fall with Shelley Klingerman and her crew, out at Launch Terre Haute. And then we're talking to some out-of-state venues as well that have shown some interest in having a FailFest in their location.
Very cool. Well, I mean, for those who have actually participated in previous FailFests, and we were actually there at the original one. We did 19 interviews.
That was phenomenal. Do you remember what happened at the end?
Yes, it was awesome.
It was the best. In fact, if there's some way we need to get that back out.
Yeah, we've got that. Literally, the lights went off in the middle of the interview with John, the last interview of FailFest. Power gets pulled because they're closing it up, and we continue the interview in the dark
because we were on batteries with the audio.
Exactly,
lights, everything went out, but the cameras and the batteries ran, and we just closed it up.
Yeah, we got to pull that back out. That was awesome. So tell us some of the things you've changed and how you think it'll provide more value to attendees this year.
Well, what we're doing is we listen every year. We ask our attendees for feedback, and one of the things that continually comes up is they want more interactive opportunities. They want to feel a little more connected.
Sure.
So we're creating more opportunities for that, more roundtable discussions, Q&A format type opportunities. But we're looking at probably 300 to 350 people in the gymnasium, and we're going to have 17 to 20 speakers. And already some amazing folks that have raised their hands and said they want to be part of this. So we're looking forward to it.
So are there any other notable failures or fails that you can really glean insight from, inspiration from? Maybe even some of the as you've exercised. I mean, you do so much, John. You really do. And Launch Indy and Launch Fishers and Launch Indiana. I mean, you gotta call that huge wins for the state of Indiana, and that's. We got to thank you personally about that, because it does give a great threshold for a lot of startup companies and a lot of companies that don't have the expenses yet to be able to take care of their own physical offices, and you're bringing a lot of people together. But I mean, can you share any of the failures of just getting FailFest moving regularly in front? This is the 4th iteration. You're passing that 3-year mark, which is fantastic. But some insights of putting on an event like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that when we started this, the thing that we said is, what's the worst that could happen here, right? We could fail.
Yep.
You fail at FailFest. Who's really even going to know, I guess, was the thought. And so, I do think you need to, approach your work with diligence, right? Thinking through everything. But at the end of the day, you've got to not be afraid to fail. And you have to take those risks. You have to step out a little bit. It's what we do with all of the work that we do statewide through Launch Indiana, Launch Fishers, our IoT lab, which is upcoming, Launch Indy. Yep. Every one of these are pretty significant risks for all parties, right? I'm one part of a team,
right?
And everybody that's involved has some skin in this game. I'm the one that's out there talking about it and trying to make things happen. But at the end of the day, there's a whole supply line of people that come behind me to help make this stuff happen.
And they're all embracing the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know that we're taking risks to do this thing, whether it's the elected leaders and the staffers that support this, the chambers of commerce, or any number of folks that are involved in helping make this stuff happen.
To kind of further our listeners' awareness of launch fishers and the launch properties, just describe launch fishers and launch Indy, for example, of what they are and the value that it represents to entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, it's happy to do that. So at Launch Fishers, we're in 52,000 square feet. That's kind of the flagship, the first location.
Yep.
We have over 600 members, and they are pursuing all sorts of innovation-driven enterprises, ranging from software and wearable technology to big data to health analytics, as well as service providers to these companies. So it's its own little ecosystem there. We have a coffee shop that serves as kind of the primary point of contact. We have a 1 gig connection, a theater that seats 300 people.
That's awesome.
Classrooms and meeting rooms. It's basically a place for entrepreneurs to do their thing. We've replicated that same thing on a smaller scale in Indianapolis, 10,000 square feet, but we also have the gym available to us, the courtyard there in the middle of Union 525.
They've got slides.
It's slides. We're going to do a GoPro video of that, and we'll give it to you guys and try to get it on the show here. But, and then the IoT lab that's opening up here later this year, grand opening first quarter of next year. That is a 24,000 square foot facility.
Oh, wow.
All focused on Internet of Things. So electrostatically coated floors and soldering irons, oscilloscopes, all the things that you would expect in a little electronics lab, basically.
Oh, my gosh.
So 86,000 square feet under roof. We have a team of about a dozen right now that make all this happen, and everything is focused on innovation-driven entrepreneurship and making that happen in the state. We think it's the greatest opportunity to bring wealth into our communities, right? Those communities that support innovators, they're going to sell to the rest of the world. So you look at the software that's created here, the technology, and you're selling around the world. That money comes back into our state to go to the employees, to the investors, and then be circulated inside of those communities. So that's the whole point behind this.
There's also something else that happens at Launch Fishers. It's and the launch properties is that you have the mentorship of different individuals that have been in business, and they can help mentor and guide some of these entrepreneurs. You actually have an entire. That's what Launch Indiana is built to be, right? Is an entire stewardship.
Yep, mentorship program, 1-to-1. We also do group programming.
Very cool.
So we can come and do an event on lean startup and have 20 people in the room, capture that on video, reuse it. It's evergreen content.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you raise money for your company? Evergreen content. How do you handle basic contracts and employment law, IP? All this type of stuff is evergreen content. So we try to do programming based around things that will last for an extended period of time.
Yep.
And then we do entrepreneurial mapping. Jason Whitney runs this program for us. We go into communities throughout the state of Indiana. We identify the entrepreneurs, the investors, the supporters of the entrepreneurs, and basically the entire ecosystem within a given community. And then we publish that map for all of that community to try to get better connected.
That is very cool. You also extend out opportunities to bring in interested parties from other countries as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of stuff that couldn't have possibly have been on the business model canvas, right? Yeah. 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
But we've now for 4 years we've been involved with the Indiana University Global Business Institute, and we had 100 students up. They were all Middle East students, so from Egypt, from Morocco, from Tunisia, Pakistan. They were brought over with the State Department. Coca-Cola sponsors the program, and I call it using entrepreneurship as a force for good, right? We're all connecting on a common language of entrepreneurship and building strong communities through entrepreneurship and innovation. It was fantastic. The week after that, we had the Mandela Washington Fellowship in with 30 students, or actually these are young entrepreneurs from Africa, 20 nations represented, all connected within our entrepreneurs at Launch Fishers, and we just completely take this notion that strong communities start with this entrepreneurship and innovation vein. Economic self-sufficiency is a core component of any vibrant and growing community, and we think if we can share this not only in Lagodi and LaGrange, but get it across the ocean as well, we think we make the world a better place.
That is huge, and I mean you're setting the seeds of freedom and self-image. I mean, if you can do it yourself, right?
Yep.
Then I mean that's where communities just thrive because they can be self-sufficient. They can actually. I mean, this is about some inverse missionary, mission type of focus. That's fantastic.
And it feels that way to us, right? All the people on my team, right? We're all very passionate about this. I can tell you that I'm a veteran. I served our country, and I think we
thank
need to
you for
really thank you. I mean, thank you for my college education because that's how I paid for it. But I think we need to revere our veterans and those who serve. Those who run the other way when trouble's going down.
Right.
But the next most patriotic thing we can do is start a business. And I think entrepreneurship is really what built our great country. And so if we can help innovation-driven entrepreneurs do their thing, we have a great chance to build strong communities throughout our state and across the nation.
Oh, that's fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so we have and this could be a much larger conversation. You realize that, especially with the stories that you come across, because I mean, there's a lot of stories of all these different entrepreneurs and all these different areas across the state. On top of that, just the FailFesters that come through and share this, drop incredible nuggets of wisdom each and every time FailFest happens. So it's fantastic, and we certainly want to help tell your story continually because you are one of the top innovators here that are bringing the companies together and bringing entrepreneurs together. So thanks so much on that.
My pleasure.
You've got the event coming up. September 23rd?
Yep, September 22nd.
22nd, I'm sorry.
That's a Friday. 23rd, I think we'll all be watching cartoons. But, so 22nd, actually it's 21st, if I remember correctly. That's a Thursday.
I just messed with them.
22nd, September 22nd is our grand opening for Launch Indy. So we're doing those back to back.
Got it.
And, the 21st, failfest.us. Tickets will go on sale here very shortly. More importantly, we're really looking for those in the area and those who will be in the area on that day, for that matter, that would like to talk about their success and how it was fueled maybe, or the road was paved by failure. So anyone that's interested in speaking, I'd love to hear from them.
So we'll certainly put all the links on the show notes as we publish the podcast and as well as in the comments on the video page. You can track down, and you got to go out there. We're a member of Launch Fishers, and you got to go out there and check out the facility at Fishers. It's fantastic, and you're right. Hurley did an incredible job with Union 525 when we were out there. How quickly they were moving at right before NX3. I mean, that was incredible. Yeah. And you're about to launch Launch Indy. Certainly take time if you're an existing business owner or if you're an entrepreneur. Go out to these spaces and check out the resources that are available for you. You can track everybody, check all the launches at Launch. On Twitter at Launch Fishers, as well as Launch_Indy. Just look for Launch Fishers and Launch Indy on Facebook, be able to find what's happening on a regular basis, and check out failfest.us for the upcoming FailFest, and also some retro perspective of previous FailFest as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent.
And Aaron, before we wrap up, I do want to commend you on the work that you're doing, because this production value and what you're bringing to the table is super important on the storytelling component of any ecosystem. And I think we're really fortunate to have you here in the Indianapolis area. When we met a few years ago, I was blown away by what you brought to the table then. This next iteration with your studio here and the production value, your team, is quite impressive. So I'm happy to see it on the scene.
Thank you very much, man. That's very nice to hear. I appreciate that greatly. Kind of warms my heart.
Oh, man, come on, man.
I don't want to be in between.
Fantastic. All right, so go check out all the events that we're talking about on Edge of Indy regularly. Go check out FailFest. Go check out Launch Indy.